the Spirit says stand. Gotta stand when the Spirit says stand. When the Spirit says stand, you gotta stand, oh Lord. You gotta stand when the Spirit says stand.
Disney doesn't exactly have a super long list of achievements where their working relationship with black artists is concerned. Before hiring Ava DuVernay for A Wrinkle in Time in 2018, the highest profile black directors with which they worked were relegated mostly to TV. They hired Tales from the Hood director Rusty Cundiff to make a reboot of the sitcom The New Adventures of Spin and Marty. And to give you some idea how well they valued that collaboration, the only copy of it that I could find was dubbed into Czech.
Mrs. Hoffman?
I'm sorry.
Извинявай, Марти.
But Mrs.
Но госпожа Хълка в момента не е с нас.
From what I can gather, Cundiff's comedic skills fared him well, and he did a good job with a pretty lame idea. But this is a guy who managed a funny segment in Movie 43, so I'm not at all surprised.
Coach, what you're saying is, if we just walk with the Lord...
The Lord! Nigga, the Lord done did his part already. He made you black. He made them white.
Spin and Marty was produced for a now-defunct movie presentation program on the Disney Channel called The Wonderful World of Disney. It was comprised of about 40% original programming, now mostly forgotten, 50% existing movies with new introductions, and 10% genuinely great original movies. The best of the best, without hesitation, is Charles Burnett's Selma, Lord Selma.
You gonna sit down and eat some toast before you go on that march?
I can't eat. I'm too excited. Daddy, you want me to stay home?
You're 11 going on 30. You do what you think is right.
I think it's right to march. Mama, you gonna cry?
No. I am just so very proud of you, baby.
Along with DuVernay, Burnett was one of the very few black directors the studio ever paid, and seemed to have left alone to make whatever they want. There's very little of the Disney signature on the piece. Even though violence feels very true to Burnett's cinema. Charles Burnett was a graduate of the UCLA Film School and the LA Rebellion film movement, a period of stunning creativity and freedom for a small group of black filmmakers living in California. Racism meant that most of the directors with whom Burnett came of age and found his voice weren't allowed to make movies, and the few who did had a hell of a time staying employed. Paying Burnett to make a movie about Martin Luther King is about the smartest decision the Disney company ever made. Allowing everyone to forget it exists, on the other hand, has to be one of the dumbest. The company's been trying to pay for the sins of its past in a big way lately, even if their greed frequently obscures the messaging, but they could still stand to do right by the people with whom they've already worked. Selma Lord Selma is about a young girl played by Journey Smollett Bell, then fresh off the incredible Eve's Bayou. She meets Martin Luther King Jr. when he stops by her town and discovers at the same time the true ugly depths of racism.
But I am shy.
Well, there's no need to be. Come here.
I mean, that's my name. Shy. Cheyenne Webb.
Well, it's good to meet you, Cheyenne. I'm Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
I know. I wrote a report on you in school. Can you sign it, please?
Let me take a look at it. Well, bless your heart. Dr. King is a good man. Well, I like you already, Cheyenne. He wants freedom for everyone. He won the Nobel Prize. Well, bless your heart. Now, that word is Nobel, Cheyenne. But you know something? I like your word even better.
She's sort of our POV into the marches and violence in Selma when King and his cohorts came to town to try to force George Wallace's hand in the matter of segregation and voting rights.
We have come to register most of these good people to vote.
Well, registration office can't handle all you people at once.
Well, we'll wait and we'll go in turn.
Amen.
Well, you can't wait here. You're blocking the sidewalks, so go home before there's trouble.
Sheriff, this registration office is only open 2 days a month. Now, this is one of those days, and I'd like to go in and register.
Well, all right. Well,
All right. You go right ahead.
yes.
Stop the singing! Stop the singing! You know you're unlawfully assembled here.
What kind of test is this? You want me to guess how many jelly beans are in that jar before I can register? Are you joking?
As King pushes to get the vote for black citizens in Selma, Smollett Bell's character is battered around by the forces in her own life.
Stop pushing. Come on. Yes, you are.
Put that back. You got your own fountain, tar baby. Just trying to take over, ain't you?
Belle's facial expressions, when she gets her head around the bottomless pit of blunt, stupid hatred racists live inside, are unforgettable. She was astonishingly talented even then. The simplicity required to tell the story of integration to children, the audience to whom the wonderful world of Disney was meant to be shown, means finding simple ways to explain something hideous. And with his typical Ozu-derived grace, Burnett succeeds, and then some. If the story sounds familiar, DuVernay herself made a movie out of it, called Selma, in 2014. Burnett's film is the more unassuming of the two, the more soft-spoken, but it's no less affecting, and certainly no less urgent. Burnett's mise-en-scène is typically clear and unfussy, and his love for filming rooms full of black people with shared experience is vitally intact. The film is almost Burnett for beginners, showing the hard life of middle and lower-class black Americans, the external and internal threats to their happiness, to say nothing of their lives, and how history has a way of staying attached to the present, for good or ill. Despite speaking to a different audience than usual, his essential self remains behind the camera, his fury at injustice and his love of black people burning brightly all the while. And the film is moving and beautiful, his B-side to the towering 90s breakthrough to Sleep with Anger. This time the threat is external rather than internal. Disney movies that admit to the hardships faced by non-white people, and using a non-white central character to boot, are still a pretty rare occurrence. Though they're trying to make movies more like Selma Lord Selma, it seems. They could still stand to hire artists on a par with Burnett, or even just more black directors in general. And they still need to revive this movie. There's no excuse for keeping something so wonderful out of sight, where none of us can reach it.
Birthday present a little early this year. I'm marching with you today.